Hello, and thanks for watching my video. It's been a while, primarily due to real life circumstances, but I'm trying to get the time to and the chance to make new content. I have thought about what kind of video that I should do next. You know, I've done guides on how to make gold, PvP, raids, builds, many more, but I felt it would be appropriate to do a state of the game video. This would be a balanced view, but as always will be subjective from my own experience. So Guild Wars 2 is 4.5 years old. I want those of you who bought the game at launch to think back and remember what the game was like then. Just think how far the game has changed and how much better a game it is. But also remember, Guild Wars 2 had an amazing launch. Guild Wars 2 was the fastest selling MMO in history. It was built up perfectly with reveals and videos of skills, trailers, novels, in-game changes to Guild Wars 1 to reflect the change in Guild Wars 2. The list goes on. You know, the hype was incredible and the launch was sensational. Massive exposure and winning Game of the Year rewards, 10 out of 10 reviews. It was, in my opinion, the best launch an MMO has ever had. And now think to all the changes that have entered the game. Account bound items that were character bound initially, things like Karma and Gold was initially character bound. The wardrobe system, one of the best things to actually being brought into the Guild Wars 2. End game content such as fractals and raids, guild halls, guild missions, the list goes on. Guild Wars 2 is a far better game than it was in 2012. It still has one of the best communities in any PC game today. This is without question. Its ease of access for new players is incredible. You can play the game for free for huge amounts of the game. How easy is it to get into other big multiplayer games? Think World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It isn't as easy to get into those games for a new player. Guild Wars 2 is still a very easy game to introduce to someone new. Just think about the other MMOs as well that have been launched and not competed along the same type of levels. Wildstar, Blade and Soul, Black Desert Online, to give a few examples. The updates to story every few months. New content is top quality with new interesting stories and new maps. Guild Wars 2 right now is a fantastic game to play for PvE content. Now, we come to what's not going right for Guild Wars 2. PvP and competitive play, meaning world versus world. World versus world has not been right for a long time, and we've had many promises to fix world versus world, but we wait, and we wait, and we wait. The seasons of World vs. World never materialised. And World vs. World is in a very poor place right now, with the peak interest, in my opinion, being just prior to the release of Heart of Thorns. The new maps of that came with Heart of Thorns hurt World vs. World badly. The testing and analysis of whether the Desert Borderlands would work effectively weren't carried out properly. And the whole purpose of having a test map, the Edge of the Mists, seems to have not even been acted upon. They don't use it. World vs. World was a fantastic concept and was exciting for the first couple of years. Even now, a massive Zerg on Zerg battle can be exciting, but balance problems with certain skills, the volume of boons due to power creep has led to a big decrease in enjoyment. PvP, on the other hand, has fallen from grace dramatically. To having a $250,000 or $200,000, world prize series only 18 months ago, the competitive teams have left. ESL are no longer going to focus on Guild Wars 2, and ArenaNet have gone from having one of the best PvP seasons, Season 5, to one of the lowest. Now, but I do agree that the rewards in Season 5 were very generous, but it did achieve a high level of interest and play to PvP that was exciting and fun. Now the rewards are so negligible that new players won't really bother to play PvP to acquire ascended gear and other items that came with the rewards. But also, there's other things. The skill balance in PvP is a bit problematic. Skill splits may be the only way that we can actually see true balance. But I would like to take you back a year ago and to see the videos that ArenaNet would actually put out when we got the explanation of the skill balances. We had the chance to preview, prepare new builds, to comment to the devs about changes, and on occasion they altered the changes that they were going to make based upon player feedback. And this is no longer. In fact, we barely get any new blog posts from ArenaNet. Remember when the weekly Friday stream Points of Interest, or now Guild Chat, it used to be crucial viewing to find out new changes. Now there's barely any point at all, and that's a real shame, as they were enlightening and invested us in people like Colin and Ruby and the devs that provided a lot of development. Now I don't want to rant on and on, but for me, as much as the problems Guild Wars 2 has with competitive content, its PvE content is flying along nicely. However, there is one area that ArenaNet are failing massively. Unless they fix this nest issue, the game is really going to struggle. Communication. 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 Extremely poor communication. It's ArenaNet's biggest flaw right now, and let me explain why. Imagine for a moment, I'm going to buy you a birthday present. Your birthday may be 3 months away, and I don't tell you anything. You might drop hints. Well, what's the plan for my birthday? I say I'm not going to tell you. The days go by, you still get nothing from me. Then, on the day, I take you or buy you something you've wanted for a long time. But also, you're going to go somewhere you've never been before. You're ecstatic, elated, a little bit overwhelmed. You struggle to process everything. You're not sure what you can do or what to do. You feel a little bit awkward about what you should do first. You try to enjoy it as the best you can, but you don't feel prepared enough for the experience, and you don't enjoy it as much. Now, let's flip it. And let's say it's 3 months to go to your birthday. Well, guess what? I'm taking you to that place you always wanted to go. And I'm buying you this gift too. A finest treat is that you'll have to wear your nicest outfit. 2 months to go and you're starting to get a little bit excited. You dream of what you're going to do first, what you think the day is going to be like. 1 month to go and I give you more news that we're going to your favourite place by plane instead of train. You get more reason to be excited. Then the day comes and it's an amazing day. Yes, that was an analogy about hype versus surprise. And let's go back and look at the Guild Wars 2 initial launch. The hype was incredible, and the game lived up to expectations. With Heart of Thorns, however, the hype was even greater, but the game was a letdown. Now ArenaNet have gone the other way, and I feel this does have to do with the departure of the previous game director, Colin Johansson. Under his stewardship, we got 2 big launches with hype, communication, feedback, blog posts, etc. Since his leaving and Mike O'Brien taking over, ArenaNet have been gagged. Okay, yes, we do get the Ask Me Anything with the Reddits on with the devs on the Reddit forums, but these are small crumbs of information. Now, Mike O'Brien has been the game director before, and that was back in the last time he was game director was back in 2010. This was when he was part of the game director and the leadership that came with Guild Wars 1. But to put that in perspective, Wooden Potatoes channel, which is the biggest Guild Wars 2 channel on YouTube, only started that year in 2010. Communication is a major tool in a company's arsenal. PR firms are paid huge amounts of money to ensure that communication between company and customer work to benefit both parties. Back in 2010, there was no Twitter, Twitch, or partner programs. What company in the world today actually benefits from communicating less with their customers? None. Now, I can understand ArenaNet's reasoning. You know, the poor reception Heart of Thorns did burn them a little. Mike O'Brien's opinion that we'll ship it when it's ready is based upon this, and on broken promises such as new legendary weapons that should have released with Heart of Thorns. But he's wrong. ArenaNet, you are wrong. The lack of communication is driving away the player base. The philosophy of you'll just have to jump in and play it is not how the gaming industry and players play in 2017. We need hype. We need trailers. We need blogs, podcasts, streams. We don't need patch notes on a random Tuesday with, here's new content, go play. What the fuck? It's a feature that I've noticed with new maps in Living World. I love new maps, but the meta achievements I've yet to complete. Why? Because there was no hype, no promotion, and I don't really care about it despite me completing every meta achievement in Season 2. And I love achievements. My 31,000 achievement points tend to prove. But I don't enjoy what ArenaNet are doing right now. I love Guild Wars 2. I would defend Guild Wars 2 to a lot of criticism. But my love for Guild Wars 2 is diminishing rapidly due to this policy by ArenaNet. People are jumping ship and I don't know if I will sustain my enjoyment of the game. Maybe it's time for a break. To rediscover my love after a leave of absence. But this shouldn't be necessary. This game has kept me interested for over 4 years, and there are parts I have loved and would like to see return, for example points of interest. The sooner a new game director is hired, I feel the better. I once asked WP, Wooden Potatoes, on a video, Guild Wars 1 had a life cycle of peak population of around 7 to 8 years. And I asked him how long he thought Guild Wars 2's life cycle would be. And I think initially it would be around the 12 to 15 years mark. And you can think back how old World of Warcraft is now. But sadly, I don't think this game will continue more than the 8 years if this present level of discourse between ArenaNet and the player base remains the same. Is there a healthy player base? Absolutely. Is this game dying? Not for a long time. Is it in a slump? I'd have to say yes. Evidence can be shown by the number of content creators and the volume of content, the views of that content, the number of Twitch streamers, number of active users on Reddit. All have seen decreases in the past 6 months. The only way currently that I can see ArenaNet with their current philosophy is to bring back players is to release another expansion. And they have said they're working on one, but when's it going to be released? We probably won't know, inverted commas, until it's ready, but I believe that it will certainly have less hype than Heart of Thorns. Let's put this in perspective. We had a trailer for Heart of Thorns, the expansion, in January 2015. The release date was a full 9 months later in October 2015. Do we think we'll get an expansion in 2017? I can't say we will. To me, this is extremely disappointing compared to the work the studio did with less staff for Guild Wars 1. They put out 3 expansions in 3 years, Factions, Nightfall and Eye of the North. Guild Wars 2 can barely put out 1 expansion in the same period. Okay, look, I'll admit the games are very different and Guild Wars 2 is a far more advanced game in terms of animations and armour, and you also get the living world. But to have an expansion in Guild Wars 2 every 2 years? Is this reasonable or not quick enough? But, I wanted to talk about this video and I've, discussed a number of different items. For me, the best time was after we had, Heart of Thorns. I loved, sort of some of the elements. And it was when we were having gliding, and this moment does stand out for me, when we had the peak communication. Point of Interest was a very important show at that point, where we watched it every Friday, and it would get several thousand viewers. And there was a point where we had gliding in the the Heart of Maguma, but we didn't have it in Corteria. And then they did a lovely little thing where at the end of Point of Interest, it was I think about a 90-minute show, and Ruby had her character in ore quite high up, and then she jumped off and started gliding. And this was an introduction of gliding to Corteria. And everybody was super hyped. It was a brilliant dialogue, and I found that fantastic. That for me was when ArenaNet really had a grasp of the player base and were communicating well and effectively, and it was a brilliant time to be a player in Guild Wars 2. There was lots going on. It was a excellent time. Right now, April 2017, it's not the same. And you know, there are many people that will blame it on different things. You know, the introduction of raids, you know, the in-game content, but that wasn't there in 2012. You know, the game has come on so much, and I hope that it continues to do so. But I would love to hear your experiences Guild Wars 2. You know, the changes that they've made. You know, is there anything that you would change? Is there one thing that ArenaNet could do? Do you disagree with what I've said? Please let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.